Baby, 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 baby.
I'm here with Dale, the Greybeard adventurer Sanders, at his beautiful home just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. And we're going to have a little chat about what Dale's been up to in the last 10 years. This guy's 87. Dale!
Dave! Who you gonna look at, you?
Yeah, we're talking to each other. You just want to stare at the camera?
What shot at the camera? Hi. Dale Sanders. D-A-L-E-S-A-N-D-E-R-S.
You've done this way
You
too
know
much.
the- you
You've
know
done
the
this way
drill.
too much. Dale, it's always good to be back here at your beautiful home just outside of Memphis. We've known each other for just over 11 years now.
Yeah, just over 11 years. Yeah. We were at Shelby Forest. That's a boat ramp just north of Memphis. And we all went up there to greet you and say hi to you there, paddling the full length, the entire Mississippi River, source to sea, on a stand-up paddle board, of which you probably were told 100 times, you're gonna die if you do. You didn't die. But anyway, you paddled around the corners, and when you paddled around it, you were standing up, and it was a young guy standing on the board paddling.
It's funny you should say that, because the first time I met you, you were on that boat ramp with maybe 20 other people from the Bluff City Canoe Club. And although I'd been joined by different people on the way down the river, there'd never been a group like that before. That big, but also that passionate. And in that group, you stood out. Not only were you the oldest, even back then, 11 years back, but you were in a canoe, but you had a kayak paddle.
Yeah,
And sometimes you were standing in it.
yeah. I stand in this one sometime now, too. But this one is new. This one has only been used for one trip, my last Mississippi River
The
trip.
one you've just finished.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to talk about that. But what stood out from that first paddle we enjoyed together with everybody else from the canoe club was, one, this guy is, he's getting on a bit. He's in his late 70s, but he seems like the youngest person in the group. And I know you hear this time and time again, but if I'm half...
I haven't heard it put like that before, and it's good to hear that.
You are more than twice my age. I hate to rub it in. But if I've got half your energy when I'm your age, I'll be happy and still super active. You've done so much in the last decade.
Well, I basically, a couple of years after I met you, is when I started doing adventures.
And why then?
Well, because I was really impressed at you and at your efforts and what you did. It was something about that paddle and you that just stood out above all others. I don't know what it was, and it influenced me tremendously. And when I say it's your fault that I'm doing all this stuff, I'm saying that with tongue in cheek, but it really is your fault. Now, in this case, the fault is good.
You're right. I'll take that fault. But there must be something that drives you on to do this. Let's do a quick checkered history of just your last 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
You became the oldest person to paddle the length of the Mississippi River when you were 80 years old.
Uh-huh.
And that was 2015.
Yeah.
And then you came off the river, had a couple of years break, and then became the oldest person to through hike the length of the Appalachian Trail.
But that was 2017, yes.
That was 2017.
But in the year between 15 and 17, I was the oldest person to complete the MR 340.
The MR 340, which is this 340-mile race down the Missouri.
It was a team of 4, but 3 of us paddled it and did it, so we all completed it together.
And what were you paddling?
And I was the oldest. I'm still the oldest person to ever complete that.
I bet you
We
are.
were paddling a 4-man stand-up paddleboard. Since one person didn't show up, we're supposed to be, 4 people standing up, 2 on each side. So we had to regroup our thinking, so they put me in the back in a chair with a double blade, and they were up in front of me on each side paddling with single blades, and I was back in the back. Chomp, chomp, chomp,
You were the engine.
I was the engine, and they said they will tell you if you were to talk to Sean Perrin or if you or Jericho Lefford, they would tell you that they could tell every time when I went to sleep because the boat would slow down when I stopped paddling.
Are you telling me you fell asleep mid-paddle?
I fell asleep. Yeah, I tried to sleep a lot back there behind them, but they knew when I went to sleep. So I learned how to paddle and sleep.
At the same time?
Yeah.
It's like riding a tandem bicycle.
They never knew I was paddling and sleeping. I couldn't do that very long, but literally I would paddle and sleep for short periods of time. Short periods, I'm talking about maybe a couple of minutes.
Yeah, fully asleep,
Yeah.
still paddling, and then wake up and
Wake
go
up
again.
paddling, yeah.
I love it.
That's a true statement. People may think it's not true, but it is true.
Oh, I believe you.
Because you're on that race is 340 miles. That's why they call it the Missouri River 340. Cross Missouri, and you have to paddle the whole thing in less than 84 hours, I think it is. Otherwise, you're going to get cut from the clock. Bottom line is you have to paddle around the clock.
Yeah.
And so as you're paddling around the clock, you don't get sleep.
Supposedly.
And it's 80 hours without sleep is hard, man.
Yeah.
Especially I was 81 at that time.
At the age of 80, you paddled the Mississippi River. Took you 80 days. At the age of 81, you became the oldest person to paddle the MR340, the Missouri River 340-mile race. In 2017, you became the oldest person to walk through hike the Appalachian Trail. You were 83?
Yeah. 82. 82.
82.
I was 82 when I hiked the Appalachian Trail.
It's good of you, to be honest.
80,
with it.
81, 82.
Okay.
3 years.
And then, just recently, at the age of 87, you retook the record to be the oldest man to paddle the Mississippi.
And I was in shape. I didn't have to train. I was already in shape.
You didn't train?
No, I didn't train at all.
At 87?
I didn't train. You know why? Because there's a few things that happened between 2017 and me paddling in 2022. In 2018, I took a motor trip and drove the Lewis and Clark Trail and hiked it much as I could from St. Louis to Portland. 2019, I hiked the Florida Trail and the Florida National Scenic Trails, and it became I still hold that age record. Nobody's broken that.
And how far was that hike?
Well, the Florida Trail is 1,100 miles. Florida National Scenic Trail is 1,300.
And you did them both?
Well, yeah, because see, the National Scenic Trail starts in Key West and goes to the Alabama border. Well, the Florida Trail starts in the Everglades and finishes at Pensacola. So that's the reason for the 200-mile difference.
Okay, gotcha. So you were in good shape.
I was in good shape already, yeah. And then, of course, in 2020, I did something else too.
And
Now,
what
this
was
one was
that?
a Guinness record.
You went to the Grand Canyon.
Rim to rim to rim. That's up south rim, across the Colorado River, up to the north rim, and going higher, it gets it a mile higher. Then back down, across the Colorado River, and back to where I started. Rim to rim to rim.
Logistically, that made a lot of sense to me because
Yeah, you don't
I
have
guess
to
you drive to one side.
You can.
You just want to
can
walk
drive
right
a
back.
shuttle around, but it's a 7-hour drive.
Yeah. Was that the reason that you went back?
No, the reason I went back is that's what the record is.
Okay.
The record, the guy 80 years old had done it, and I was 85, so I said, shoot.
There's another one.
Go out and give it. That was the easiest record I ever got.
So rim to rim to rim, how long were you walking? What's the distance?
It's 52 miles.
Okay.
And I could have done it easily in 3 days. But you have to have a permit. and I had to join someone else that had a permit. That I was able to find a friend that had a permit. Somebody backed out, so I jumped in and grabbed it. And their permit was for 6 days, so I had to stay with them. But for Guinness and for the age record in the Grand Canyon, it doesn't matter as long as you do it on the same trip. So 6 days is fine.
Okay.
That's why it was so easy.
As long as it's continuous.
See,
6 days.
6 days, you do 52 miles and get a world record. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Is that the laziest world record you've ever claimed, Dale?
Latest?
Laziest.
That's the laziest world record I've ever tried. God. This 2022 paddle on Mississippi was not a lazy record.
No, and I don't think anyone would claim
It was
that.
hard. I had been telling, do you when I paddled in 2015, and I did 2 years later, I did the Appalachian Trail. The Mississippi was a lot easier than the AT. I say AT means Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
What the difference was between 2015 and 2022, when I just got off, a month ago, is that we had extremely low water this year. Low water means slow water. So we depend on your paddle, as you did on the stand-up paddleboard. You know, you follow the current. You try to find the fast current. Well, since it was low, almost historically low, there was not that much current. And when I paddled in 2015, it was historically high.
So fast.
So it was a huge, huge difference there. And then this time we paddled. I started in May in 2015 and had a lot of couple cool months. This time I wanted to start on my birthday, June the 14th, and that put me right in the middle of the summer in the Mid-South. And it was so hot. It was really hot.
So
I had to manage the heat, and the mosquitoes were a little bad too. But then my worst, I have been asked what my worst enemy was on the Mississippi. You know what it was? Wind. We had so many days I was not stretching it. I'll bet you that 2/3 of the days we were on the river, at some point during the day, we had double-digit headwinds, this 2022 paddle.
And that makes a huge difference.
So you put those three things together, that is a huge difference. And of course, I was 7 years older. That might have made a little difference.
Maybe a little difference. So in 2015, your first full Mississippi paddle, it took you 80 days.
Yeah.
And this 2022 paddle took you how long?
I was 87, so I did it in 87 days.
Okay.
And started on my birthday, June 14th, and finished on 8 September. Do the math, 87 days.
So you are banking all of these records for being the oldest person to do this, the oldest person to do this, to do this, to do this. What is it that starts this thought process off? Do you really like being the oldest person?
Yeah,
I like these records?
Yeah, you better believe I like it.
So in between your first Mississippi age record and this latest one, someone else came along and became the oldest person to paddle the Mississippi. Tell me.
Yeah, Stan Stark. Stan came in 2020 and broke my record. Got right. Matter of fact, he not only broke it, but I applied for Guinness record in 2015, but I was disapproved because they said they don't do age records. But somewhere between my application in 2014 when I submitted it and 2019 when Stan submitted his to Guinness, they changed their policy. They do now honor age records. So when I found out that Stan was getting the Guinness record, I'm saying, man, I gotta get back up there and do that again then to get Guinness records that way.
And that
I was kind of upset at Guinness too.
Yeah.
For disapproving mine and then coming along and proving his.
Well, you're not the first person to be upset at Guinness. But that aside, have you ever spoken to Stan?
Huh?
Did you meet Stan when he was paddling?
No, I met him after he finished. He come through here and signed my Paddler's Wall of Fame.
Of course he signed the wall.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
I had never met him before that.
This takes us on beautifully to the fact that not only are you a multi-time world record breaker, but you're also one of the kindest river angels on the Mississippi. You take paddlers of all ages.
Well, I've been doing it for a few years. Even before you came here and signed the wall, there's the first signature on that wall, 9/11/11. I'll never forget it.
So what is it that makes you want to bring paddlers in?
I just have a passion for people that do any type, it doesn't matter what it is, any type of difficult adventure, expedition. I just have a real passion to help them accomplish their mission. That's a true statement from my heart.
And if that means a few meals and a couple of days of good rest?
Yeah, that's what it means. That's what it means.
So tell us about the Paddlers Den. You created this lovely place where people can come and stay.
Well, we had, when we built this house in 07 and 08, we've got a full basement, and you just use it for storage. It was kind of a wasted space. But I started working on it and finishing it out, so it, a little bit at a time I did the work on it and turned it into an apartment. So when I started entertaining adventurers, most of them paddlers, because the river comes right by here, I just started calling it the Paddler's Den, because that's who was staying down there more than anybody else. I could sleep in 3 different rooms. I can sleep 5 people in beds down there right now.
People walk down through the Paddlers Wall of Fame and...
Then they would come down and they went to the bathroom straight ahead, the den where they can go in and watch TV and socialize is there, and then over here is the picnic table I was telling you about, kitchen, washer and dryer, refrigerator, and then one of the bedrooms is over here. Somebody must be living here now. We even got a bed in the cellar, so one person can stay in here. And the thing is, I think that I've had somebody in here that opened the wine cellar up, and they laid up there in their bed and drank. This is a wine cellar, right here. We just call it the cellar. The cellar.
Stops people walking in.
Hidden the switch, see. Big long wooden picnic table with long benches on each side, and they can spread out on that. It's just perfect for somebody that's doing adventures to unload their stuff, clean up, get a shower, wash and everything, and have a couple of meals and get back on the river. It's perfect. And then out here, on the other side of this is an exterior type door, but on the other side of it, garage. And then my shop is out here, where I keep all my stuff tuned up. This is my son's project. He's a hat man, so he had a lot of old hats, and one day he just hung them up there. And a few days later, I noticed there were more hats there, and a few days later, there were more hats. This is his thing right here. A lot of hats. I took this picture right here the last day I was on the Appalachian Trail. I was going across that bridge, and as I walked across, I realized it must be pretty behind me. I looked back, oh my gosh. So I just grabbed my camera as I was walking, I went click, and never stopped walking, and got that. Can you believe that? Never stop walking. And then here's Paddler's Den. I've been collecting nautical, most of it brass, nautical stuff my whole life, and I finally got a place to hang it up. So I just hung all the brass stuff that most of this stuff I actually recovered it off of ships underwater in my diving career. I was a Navy hard hat diver. Not with this helmet, but similar to that baby right there. You know, some lady on Facebook sent me a message, and she said, my husband's nickname was Greybeard, and he just passed away. And he has a plaque that says Greybeard. Would you like to have it? I said, yeah. I said, what's your address? I'll send it to you. And there it is. Even spelled right. Look at that one. You must recognize that one over there too, right?
This was a pretty...
That's the suit you wore when you swam 1,000 miles down the Missouri River. One of your other adventures. And here's some things oh, the yellow one, yeah.
See how
This is what you towed the board with behind you. There's also more here too right here, these little flippers. You use those when you're in the river. I'll tell you one thing I do have, that you did a bike car from Memphis to Miami, 4-wheel bicycle. And you paddled that baby, except for the first day, you paddled it all alone, 1,000 miles. You changed the cover on the top of it here at my house.
That's true. You still got that?
And guess what? I kept the old top that you took off because it was bent up and broken up a little bit. I guess it got hit by cars or something. I don't know.
This bit's for Paul Everett. You made the bike car.
And that's it right there. That's the old cover of your bike car. Yep, right there.
Home away from
There's
home.
only one thing that's not perfect.
Which is?
It's 20 miles from a river.
Well, I can vouch for the fact that it's totally worth that 20 miles.
Well, that's freeway, so it only takes about 20 minutes. It's not that bad.
It's pretty easy. It's definitely worth the trek. And of course, on the way down from your living quarters to the Paddler's Den is the Paddler's Wall of Fame. Tell us about the wall. Whose idea was that?
Yeah, we've talked about that already a little bit, but when you were here in 9/11/11, that wall was freshly painted.
Yeah.
Didn't have any. My wife Miriam said, you were getting ready to leave. She said, Dave, I want you to put your signature on this wall. And I said, no, Miriam, you don't want to do that. We just painted this wall. And you don't want, no, to mess it up with this stranger's signature. No, I didn't say that.
You did.
But I was thinking that. What do we want to put his signature on the wall for? Now looking back, that's the smartest thing she ever said, because now I got around 400 signatures, but you were the first.
400.
Yeah.
So you've had that many people come through who've paddled
around
all
400.
or some of the river.
I didn't have to pick them all up. Some of them just came here on their own, and some of them were groups.
I mean, it's an amazing wall, full of history now, even from the last decade. How proud does it make you that the Paddler's Wall of Fame is right here in your house?
Well, at first I just didn't call it anything, but then after I started getting more signatures, and some of them were pretty famous, known in the adventure world paddlers, I said, we're going to have to call that something. So jokingly, I told Janet Moreland one time, I said, you do those other two rivers and you get to sign the Wall of Shame. And she laughed, and we talked about it, and then for a while I called it the Wall of Shame even. And then finally she said, why don't you just call it the Wall of Fame? And we did some research and found out there was no Wall of Fame. Nobody had a Paddler's Wall of Fame. So I started calling it that as a challenge, really, and really hit it up pretty big on Facebook, so that if anybody was out there that had one or had some objections, they could do it. Nobody had one and nobody objected. So now it's pretty well known in the paddle world that I have the Paddler's Wall of Fame here in my house. You want me to show you the Wall of Fame? Go down the steps to the Paddler's Den. Most of the signatures on the right going down around, I would guess 400. These people were all here. Some of them are pretty famous too. Like this guy right here, he went on to be pretty famous, I'll tell you right now, that guy. Dave Cornthwaite, that's Dave. And then there's others like Rod Wellington, Mark Couch, Bill Netterman. It's a lot of fun, I get a lot of attention. These are new. I got a signature 2 days ago. He just finished Missouri River, Source to Sea. He just finished. This is the only person this year to do the Missouri River system. This one here is my favorite. I've been asked many times, what's your favorite? And my favorite is the Adventure Tree. That's you. That's you and your lovely wife did. She owes me one thing. She created this, so I got to have Emma put her name on here. Created by Emma Cornthwaite. I'm going to make sure she gets that done. There are a lot of record holders on here. Like you were the first person to paddleboard the full length of the Mississippi River from source to sea. Luann came along a few years later in 2019 and did it. I was on Florida Trail when she came here and signed it. I wasn't even home.
Oh, you didn't even meet her?
I didn't meet her, no. These people here went on to broke the world record. Now it's 17 days and something. Can you believe that? Four people in one canoe.
That's crazy.
And they have 3 people paddling at all time and 1 person sleeping. And the boat never stops.
Wow.
The boat never stops. Another record holder here, Tracy Lynn Martin, who did this unsupported female 55 days in 2021. Ellen right now is rowing around the world alone. Can you believe that? So there's a lot of stuff here to talk about. Paddlers, all of fame.
1,000 stories. I'm so glad that it all worked out, because I felt pretty awkward just putting a Sharpie
I bet
on
you
this
did,
freshly
didn't you?
painted
Because you knew
white
I didn't
wall.
want it on there.
No, I was feeling the vibes down.
Didn't you know I didn't want it on there? Didn't you feel that way?
Of course I felt it.
And then but you went along with Miriam and you
Of course I
signed
did.
it.
You never argue with Miriam. You know that.
You didn't want to get in a fight with her.
No
You'd rather
way.
fight with me than
I would have
her.
lost immediately. I mean, you talk about posting on Facebook and building up the reputation for the Paddler's Wall, but you have a lovely way of telling stories. I think you're really excited about the adventures that you do and life in general. That comes across. I mean, it's not only the Paddler's Wall of Fame that your branding expertise has left a mark on. You are, of course, known as the Greybeard adventurer. Is on your beautiful canoe Perseverance here. It's on your T-shirt. Tell us about how it feels.
This is the last
There we go.
great.
You've got some mud on there as well.
Oh, I got a little mud on there. Yeah, I did something. The last great river paddle. And that's my logo.
How does it feel to have this?
Hey, by the way,
identity.
Before I answer, how does it feel to have this, Greybeard? You know who named me? You know who gave me the name Greybeard? I tell it a little different than you do. I tell it one time one time you sent me a text or an email. I don't know which it was. Might have been a Facebook message. You said, Dale, you are nothing but an old graybeard adventurer. And I text you back, said, that's it, that's my name. I'm the Greybeard adventurer from now on. And you keep telling me that you didn't say old, you just said the Greybeard adventurer.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said old.
I think I might have added that in there in the years.
It's amazing how these stories gain weight.
make it, you know, I give a little bit of, what do you call it?
An extra Dale sauce.
A little extra touch there of you and nothing but.
Yeah, I'd never say nothing but.
That's right, you wouldn't say that. Not from England.
No, we're
You
far
guys
too
got a
polite.
terrible accent too. I can't even hardly understand you once in a while.
Well, now you know exactly how I feel, Dale, talking to you.
You got that accent.
So,
But you remember one time I said, Dave, can't you speak English? And you said, Dale, you're the one that's not speaking English. I'm from England.
we invented you. Dale, it's the middle of October now in 2022. You are a month out from finishing your second full Mississippi paddle, and you're home and resting up and still recovering from that paddle.
It's a little over 30 days I've been back home.
I mean, I'm 42 and I'm feeling the aches and pains from a few years of adventure. So goodness knows how you're feeling. Is there anything around the corner? Are you just enjoying being at home, resting, not being on the river?
I'm enjoying being at home. The first 30 days was kind of rough, physically and mentally. But after 30 days, I got that you know, sometimes we have feelings that just, it's great to be alive, adrenaline flow, and you just feel really good. Well, I didn't get one of those adrenaline flows until 30 days out, 30 days after I got here home. And I looked down 3 or 4 days ago, a few days ago rather, I got one of those first time since I've been off the river, those adrenaline feelings, it's great to be alive, because I've been depressed. And I looked down at my watch and it was 8 October, exactly 30 days. We got off the river on 8 September. And so it took me 30 days to recover mentally.
I mean, that's not long. It could have taken a lot longer.
Well, it could have, because I was on 87 days, almost 3 months on the river. Do you remember how many days it took you to paddleboard that?
82.
82 days. Yeah.
I think there's this general rule of thumb that the amount of time that you're away from home on the road or on the river, it takes the equivalent amount of time when you've finished to fully recover.
To totally recover?
Yeah. But sometimes it's a bit more than that. After my swim, I was done for 9 months.
Sometimes it might take a lifetime.
Yeah, maybe I'll never recover. So, Dale, you've obviously got a film to look forward to. You had a crew with you on this latest paddle. Tell us a little bit about that filming process and
oh yeah,
when the documentaries
I really hit the jackpot with people to film this last Great River paddle. Those 87 days, I had a lot of film coverage. I announced on my birthday a year before I started on this past 2022, June 14. I announced in 2021 that I was going to do it again. And at that time, I started looking for somebody to go along with me, or a whole crew to go along with me to photograph it, so they can do a documentary. Well, I did some research on the computer trying to find out some really good adventurer photographers, and I found Zach Rivers and Alex Mayer. So I contacted both of them about the same time last fall, a year ago. And both of them said they couldn't fit it into their schedule, they just couldn't do it. And it was about 4 months later, in January, Zach called me and said, hey Dale, I figured it out how I can do it. I can do it. I want to go with you and I want to do a documentary. Well, we made an agreement, came to terms of the agreement and everything, and then just about a week later, guess what? Alex called me. He'd almost said exactly the same words Zach did. And I said, man, I wish you'd have called me a week ago. And I said, I can't, I've already committed. There's no way that I can go back and tell Zach, Alex, I can't do that to Zach. Although I love your work and all, I said, maybe there's a way you could get involved. And my brain started working. Why don't the two of you guys just get together? You guys are the best in the business. If you guys get together and make one documentary, one film, it should be super. He thought for a minute and he said, yeah, that sounds good. I got them together. That first meeting, they talked 5 hours and they worked it out. So now I have 2 film crews working on the film. It's going to be debuted in Chattanooga at the Lookout Wild Film Festival.
Amazing.
And that's pretty fast production.
That's really fast.
And it's going the cameras they're using is the same camera that they use to make the big screen movies with. I call them 8Ks. I don't know what that means, but it's 8K camera.
What's the documentary going to be called, Dale?
Well, they called it a documentary was really the temporary name. It's really not going to be like you would see a normal documentary at all. I don't want to say too much about it, but I can tell you that the Mississippi is only a part of it.
Okay.
It's not going to be really a documentary, but it's built around the Mississippi, but it goes off in other directions. And they even went to Kentucky and interviewed a bunch of people up there where I grew up
Oh, really?
already. So we got 2 film crews that are doing this thing, and they're excellent. And they know what they're doing. They've been using 3 or 4 drones to gather footage, for instance. They are putting together a film that's going to be more than a documentary. That's all I can say.
Well, it sounds like a life story is just around the corner.
It humbles me to think of what they're doing. And the trailer, if you haven't seen the trailer already, Greybeard, the Man, the Myth, the Mississippi. That's the name of the movie and the name of the trailer.
Can people see it on your website as well?
Yeah, it's right on the front page of the website, greybeardadventurer.com. Go on greybeardadventurer.com. That's an ER, Greybeard Adventurer, and you will see the trailer right there, just to click on it.
And of course, stories from all of your adventures
Yeah,
over the last
all
few
of them
years.
are there, and even the blogs from the 2015 trip are there. A lot of news coverage articles are there.
As always, it's lovely to chat to you and hang out with you at your lovely home, and your new dog Bailey, who has got the best eyebrows in the world. They look a lot like your eyebrows, actually, Dale.
She does, doesn't she? I've heard that a lot of people say, eyebrows and beard.
Dale, thanks so much for hosting Em and I once more, and for continuing to inspire so many people and dogs.
Hey, Appalachian Trail handshake.
Well, the little
there
fist
he
bump.
is.
Keep it simple.
Come on, girl. Go up there and go around it. Bailey, look, right there. Yes, come on, girl, come on. Come on.
Good girl. Go around this way. Go on. Yay!
Do that. So you're not smart enough to know how to go around the end of the boat. I've been telling people you're a smart dog and you're not showing it.